Hi, welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name is Anya. Okay, anyway, so first things first, The Children of Blood and Bone is about a girl trying to restore magic to the kingdom of Orisha. Also, before anything, disclaimer guys, I'm going to be getting these names all types of jacked up. I don't have the time or energy to look up every single name, every single word, and listen to it just to make sure I'm saying these right. So please have grace for me, please. I'm sorry beforehand. Okay, and how does she plan to bring magic back to her kingdom? Through a ritual. Okay, that's giving some red flags as Christians, okay? And not just any type of ritual, a blood sacrifice, pretty much. A blood ritual. Okay.
Pause to read.
Now, in the comments of this trailer, I want to share this comment with you guys. It just touched my heart. As a Nigerian, I see where this trend is heading, an attempt to normalize real witchcraft. Orishas are a part of Yoruba culture, often linked to water spirits. For generations, these spiritual ties have led to broken families and ruined lives. In Nigeria, many people suffer from severe spiritual attacks, sudden deaths, ruined careers, and broken homes because they or their ancestors took oaths in these traditional occult practices. Other demonic spirits such as Obanhe, Igbo, and Abiku Yoruba are water entities and spirit covenants that torment bloodlines. They cause cyclic deaths, severe spiritual oppression, and personal ruin. Thousands of individuals in Nigeria attend deliverance ministries trying to break these bonds after severe damage has been done. Some have lost their mental stability, and in extreme cases, some even end up roaming in the streets due to deep spiritual ties / possession by these entities. Deliverance pastors and families and individuals that have been affected across Nigeria know the painful reality of what has been happening for decades. In the West, African traditional religions are romanticized, and some Africans who practice these things are in denial because they have an agenda of promoting these religions and occults. But in reality, these practices involve dangerous spiritual forces. Out of ignorance, many Black Americans travel to West Africa to connect with these spirits, unwittingly subjecting their bloodlines to severe spiritual bondage. I have seen lives ruined after people participated in these rituals, leaving them unable to work, marry, or live peacefully due to spiritual torment. Now, this is being normalized and packaged like a Black Panther style movie. I fear this media push will lead droves of people from the West to travel to West Africa for initiations, ignorant of the spiritual consequences. Do not be deceived by the romanticized narrative. And as an author, she took her creative liberties to take the attributes of these real life deities, gods, whatever you want to call them, and to create her fantasy world of, her magic system, the clans, etc. And all these names are real, aside from two of them, which I won't name, but they're just Yoruba words because she worked with her parents who spoke Yoruba. Now, you might have noticed in that list, Oshun is separate from the rest. It's because it is not mentioned in the books or the movies, but I found something really interesting about Beyonce, who, if you watch the trailer, you'll see that her music is featured in the trailer. Now, before I show you this clip, I want to explain and make it clear that the reason I thought this was interesting is because Oshun is part of the Orishas, that group of all these deities that are in the books and in this movie of The Children of Blood and Bone that is coming out. It's kind of like, you have a movie of all the Greek gods, but then you just happen to not name one, but it's still in the same group. It's in the same universe, to say. But yeah.
Oshun has daughters. These are those who identify with Oshun and choose to worship Oshun and give offerings and sacrifices and put up altars to Oshun. And these people call themselves daughters of Oshun. These are her worshipers. That would make Oshun the mother of these daughters of Oshun, right? If you notice in Beyonce's video, she says, "I am the mother." Oshun, Queen Sheba. So what I believe is that Beyonce doesn't just worship Oshun. Beyonce believes she is Oshun. I believe Beyonce has become possessed and obsessed to a point where the demon of Oshun has entered into her and convinced her that she is Oshun reincarnated and reborn. And I believe that is exactly what Beyonce depicted as those two large doors opened and water came rushing out of those doors and Beyonce walked out of those doors. I believe that was a depiction of Beyonce being born again, right? Leaving this womb, this water breaking and her coming out, being born again as Oshun. And if you guys remember in my public video, I said that Beyonce was doing rituals and opening up demonic portals at her concerts. Well, remember I said that one of the things Oshun stands for is fertility and love. What did you see on the screen of Beyonce's Renaissance tour? It was a woman's legs opened and it depicted a woman's womb.
And even crazier still, like I just found this out today, that voodoo and Santeria grew from the Atlantic slave trade. And although that's why there's so many similarities, is because it's from African traditions. So that's why those spirits are a part of those religions called, but called by different names. And I don't want to get into all that. You can do your own research on that. But I just was like shocked and I was surprised because it came out and it was mixed with Catholicism and stuff. But my mind was blown. Okay, now I have a question for you. When it comes to watching this movie, what fruit do you think that it will produce? Because, this is biblical. We're called to test things by the Spirit. And to do that, we look at the fruit. Because a good tree can't bear bad fruit. And a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. All right? And I want to share this clip with everybody. It's this girl's testimony I just watched today. She was an Orisha priestess, actually. She was curious about the religion. And you know what? Let me not get all into that. Let me play the clip for you.
One of the things that I realized while I was there is that there's a very big difference between culture and religion. And so many people, just as I did, I wanted to embody my ancestral culture, and so, but that also just meant that I was wanting to practice, in this traditional way as it is practiced by, the culture that's there. Now, I'm not making a generalized statement saying that all Yoruba people also participate in these ritualistic cultural practices. I'm not saying that. What I am saying, though, is while I was there, I did witness a lot of people not making a hard distinction between the two. So even though they profess to be Christian and they love Jesus, they would still be at the diviner's mat, like on the mat, waiting to hear what the oracle had to say about whatever situation. And that was because that's what is deeply ingrained within the culture. If the preacher doesn't have a solution, or if, then the Babalawo will have a solution for you, and it may require these kinds of sacrifices or et cetera, et cetera. So, and that is a whole nother tangent, because what I feel like, or what I see that's happening, is that there are people who are coming here to the United States. I'm here in the United States, and they are coming from these different places in Africa that has this kind of witchcraft technology, and are using it in the pulpit. And because people don't have that kind of, they're not being discerning at all. Like, they are just, they're not being discerning. They're just impressed by somebody's ability to be accurate or to tell you what you ate yesterday. But not being discerning as to what spirit is actually speaking. And a lot of the times, as I witnessed it, there are people who are, like I said, in pulpits, and it is not the Spirit of God that is actually giving them all of this revelation. You know, it is another spirit.
Now, her name is Shardell, and she'll be releasing her own video about this movie herself. I follow her. You should go follow her because I want to see what she says about this. I can't wait for her to release it. Okay, so when it comes to being interested about your culture, it's very important that you make sure and use discernment, that you don't end up falling into that religion, into possibly witchcraft, but to put it simply. Now, I have one last question for you guys. What is this movie promoting? Now, give me the answer in the comments. I'm not going to answer this. I know the answer, though. And I want to see what you guys say. So just stay safe, guys, and use your discernment.